I am going to be so honest. I am still very worried about Torey Krug and what is going to happen with the St. Louis Blues now, and I need to talk about it. This is all coming up here on Locked on Blues.
You're Locked on Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to Locked on Blues. I am your host of Locked on Blues, Haley Taylor-Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here on the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. Today on Locked on Blues, I am going to be talking about more concerns that I have of Torey Krug and his injury. I will be talking about Jordan Kyrou, expectations for this upcoming season, and some moves that I feel like the Blues could potentially make. We do have a lot to get on today's episode, and I need to definitely vent and talk about Torey Krug. But before I do so, I just want to let you know about today's episode, because today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as the playoffs wind down and the sports stop sporting the way that we want them to. But this summer is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Hello. It is Wednesday, July 17th, St. Louis, and I have to tell you, I do not feel any better than I did yesterday about the whole Torey Krug situation. So for those that don't know, Torey Krug is potentially going to be out for the season. He has some pre-arthritis concerns in his ankle foot area, and the next 6 to 8 weeks he will be rehabbing. But if that isn't successful, he might need surgery. And if he gets a surgery, then he will 100% be out for this upcoming season. Right now, he is indefinitely out. This draws a lot of concerns for many reasons. One, even though Torey Krug isn't the best defender, and I know that, and you know that, and I know that, he still played a vital role in this team's defense. I do believe that he will be somebody that we're going to honestly be like, whoa, we actually missed him, and that's how it's going to be. I am concerned about the Blues' defense. I've always been concerned about the St. Louis Blues' defense. I think Suter, honestly, I like him. I like what he did in Dallas, but I don't think he can play the minutes that Torey Krug has played here in St. Louis. P.O. Joseph, same thing. I don't know if he can do that. I don't know if these other guys can do what Torey Krug has done. And I know it sounds silly because, hell, hello, hi. We're not the biggest fans of Torey Krug, but yet the idea of him not playing makes me even more nervous than the idea of him playing. And I know that it's going to free up some money if he's on, the LITR, long-term injury, LTIR, whatever. Either way, it's going to free up some money, and I get that. But I would rather have Torey Krug than Ryan Suter. And I know. Am I saying those words? I was watching a video today, actually, of Torey Krug. I believe it was Perron that, pushed him and he fell, and he went after him, but he didn't go after him, and he ended up hitting Robert Thomas to the ground. And I think about that a lot. Like Torey Krug, and this was when he was a Bruin, not when he was with the Blues. But the Blues, honestly, ended up going for a guy that I genuinely disliked in Boston. I was not a fan of him. And I always had a soft spot for Torey Krug, and I think it's just because I enjoy seeing him play. And I know what he is capable of. I don't like this. It does not sound good to me. I feel like the statement that came out yesterday basically insinuated, hey, listen, he's going to be out for the season. It didn't make me feel like the 6 to 8 weeks of rehabbing was going to do much. And I could be wrong. Maybe the statement was just a bland statement telling us the facts. The way that I saw it, it just was like a heads up, like, hey, this is probably going to happen, but we still have to follow these procedures and protocols. And I understand why they do that. And it makes sense, right? You don't want to say, oh, yeah, by the way, Torey Krug is out for the season. And then Doug is going to be like, oh, we need to make some moves. No, I understand both ends. I understand now the moves of why they ended up getting Suter. I understand why, PO. I get why they did some of the things that they did this offseason. But at the same time, are those players going to really be what Torey Krug is? And when you think about the best defenseman on the Blues, you think of Colton Parayko. And then the list just kind of drops. I mean, I love Jay Folk. You know that he just is not the same Nick Leddy they can get rid of. Perunovic and Tucker, like they're just, I mean, they're fine on the third pair, but they're not like, oh, this is the best defense. Like the Blues really don't have the strongest defensive core. I know that they're not the worst in the league, and that was crazy to me because they were so frustrating to watch. I know statistically, you might look at the Blues defense and be like, hell, they are not that bad, but it does not matter what statistics say. I know from watching the games, it was that frustrating. I think the most frustrating player was, besides Nicoletti and Justin Folk, was honestly sometimes watching Perunovic. I mean, he didn't have the best season. Tyler Tucker gave it his all. And I will always say that about Tyler Tucker, and I will always defend Tyler Tucker. Torey Krug, I know that everyone's not a fan of him, but I don't think he had like an awful season. He is a big body. He's been around this game. Like, I do enjoy watching Torey Krug play hockey. And that's where my frustration is. If he's done for this season, is his career done? Is he ever going to step on the ice playing in an NHL game again? And that's my concern. I know that he signed this long contract with us, and obviously injuries happen. But, you know, is he going to really be able to come back from missing a year at 33 years old? Will he come back at 34 and be able to go again? It just makes me very worried about the future of Torey Krug. And, you know, I think person to person, even if you don't like him, like that must be a very scary thing what he's going through. I mean, last year there was the whole rumor about him and the Philadelphia Flyers involved with the trade. And Krug was like, I'm not leaving St. Louis. Like, he was not going to leave. And I don't blame him, first off. But if you know, you know. But I really think that he just had that moment of realization. I want to be here. The Blues, while they did beat his Boston Bruins at the time, they are not a cup contending team, and we know that. I mean, as much as we want them to win the cup again, we know that they're not a cup contending team. So for Torey Krug to say, you know what, I want to be here in St. Louis, it showed me maybe it's not getting the cup with the Blues. Maybe it's because he genuinely does like the organization. He likes living in St. Louis. We have such a great alumni base here in St. Louis. I think so special how all the guys really rally around each other more so than I think any other team I've noticed. I just feel like this is an organization that you want to spend your remaining days, or if that's not bad, remaining seasons of your career at. And I think for Torey Krug, he realized that he did not want to go. I said this before, if Torey Krug truly wanted out of St. Louis, he might say, hey, let's cut a deal with the Panthers. Let's cut a deal with the Rangers. Like maybe he would try to leave by cutting a deal with a different team, but he hasn't because he does not want to leave. I feel like when players want to leave, they are able to leave. It's very rare in the NHL these days you actually see players stay on a team that they truly don't want to be a part of. How about Jack Eichel, for example? He was on the Buffalo Sabres, did not want to be there, got a deal in Vegas, and he was out there so fast. So it is a true thing that players are not going to be okay sticking to a team that they don't want to be a part of. And I understand that Krug has dealt with injury before, but you cannot blame somebody for their injuries. Okay, you're playing hockey. Let me remind you, hockey is one of the most physical games that you can play. And most players play for like 5 seasons. Like there's very rarely, I mean, I know actually that's a lie. A lot of players play more than 5 seasons. But I guess like the not so good ones only play for like 5 at the most. But again, it's one of those games where like your body's going to get banged up. You're going to get injured. I mean, how about all the concussion, before there was proper helmets and care that way, all the guys that would get concussions all the time. I mean, they still do. I mean, Matthew Tkachuk, St. Louis native, obviously the son of the great Keith Tkachuk, Neil Stanley Cup champion Matthew Tkachuk. But last year after the Stanley Cup Finals when they lost to Vegas, he had to get all those different, procedures done because he was banged up. Like, it's a legit concern for me about Torey Krug right now because this man's been playing hockey for quite a while. And I know what you're going to say. Oh, it's just arthritis. It's not that bad. It is that bad. Even though something may not seem that bad to you because it doesn't seem scary in a sense, not like it's a broken bone, it can still, and I told you the facts on yesterday's episode, it can still generate that much pain And I really do feel for him because I cannot imagine your joints being in that much physical pain at the young age of 33. He's not old. He's still young, and besides playing hockey, I'm sure he wants to be there for his family. So I think I'm just very sympathetic just because I cannot imagine on my left ankle area dealing with that much pain on a daily basis and knowing that I have 6 to 8 weeks to properly rehab before I'm out for the entire season and then needing surgery. I mean, that is a scary thing when you think about Torey Krug, to think about all that he's going to have to go through. So, yeah, I know, oh, it's just arthritis, but it's really not. It's a lot deeper than that. So just be a little bit, I guess, more charismatic, if that's the right term, about what is going on with Torey Krug. But anywho, I will talk. I know yesterday I did a poll on Twitter about, do we talk about Krug or Kyrou? And this is before the Torey Krug information. And as soon as that came out, I'm like, okay, fine. I will talk about Torey Krug. But I'm still going to talk about Ruzi. But first, I'm going to talk to you, my friends, about my friends over at FanDuel. I love sports. I love them so much, and I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down and we get fewer games and the sports aren't sporting the way that we want them to, well, FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want, okay? And all I have to do is open up the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the MLB. And speaking of the MLB, I would talk to you about my Cardinals, by the way. I know a big St. Louis Cardinals fan here. Yes, I am. They are on their all-star break right now. Not much of them really happening in the game, but National League lost, so that kind of sucks. But they are behind the Brewers. That is right, by about 5 games. And they're kind of killing it. They had a really rough start to the season, but they have been doing really well. They're going to be actually in Atlanta on Friday when the season returns to take on the Braves. Honestly, do not bet on that. Wait until they play any other team. This makes me nervous. I don't like the Braves. Wait until they play the Pirates. I don't know, Paul Skeens and Nationals even. But I don't know if I would bet on the Braves. But if I do bet on the Cardinals, it's always Cardinals money line because I have to support my Cards. All righty, let's talk about my boy Kyrou. Hi, I'm another defender of a player that most people may not like, and that's Jordan Kyrou. I really do like him. I think that he does have a good game. I think he gets overlooked quite a bit. And I am a fan, and I will tell you why. There are so many reasons why I like Jordan Kyrou, and I think one of them is because of how passionate of a hockey player he is and how much he is improving. I'm not going to bore you with the statistics. This is my opinion today, and that's what I want you to know. Today, I'm telling you how I feel, finally. I'm not reading stats. I'm not saying, oh, well, you know what, St. Louis, this is why. No. I'm telling you why. Jordan Kyrou is an essential part to this team's offense. And I understand he's maybe not the most consistent. Maybe his spatial awareness is not the best. Maybe he's not the best defensively. And I understand that. And I am not arguing with you whatsoever at all. I agree. But what he does do is produce speed. He produces plays. And when he does get those goals, they are absolute buttes, as we say in hockey. I am such a big Kyrou fan, and I have expectations for him. I want him to be a player that people look at the season and say, oh, we were really underestimating Jordan Kyrou. I think that he is yet to do that. I think after last year when everyone was mad at him, including myself, I was a little mad, I'm not going to lie, about his comments after Berube got fired. I was like, oh, this guy's a punk. Come on. But seeing a player get as emotional as he did when he was talking about his love for St. Louis, his love for the Blues, the fans, and how it felt to get booed on home ice, my heart broke for him because it hit me at that moment. This is a player that truly does care, and we all have said things that we maybe don't mean. Kyrou and I are the same age about, and I think about this a lot, if I had to deal with all the pressures that he did, how would I handle it? Well, I'm not an NHL athlete anyways, but I do have to deal with the St. Louis crowd. And sometimes it can be a little tough because you don't want to let people down. And I think that, him being in a position where he did let people down 100%, no excuses about that. He did. He learned from it. He grew from it. And his game got better after that. I think that, these players are always under the spotlight and they're athletes, not interviewees all the time, if that makes sense. Like when Jordan Kyrou was growing up, he was just learning stick and puck. He wasn't learning, oh, this is how to talk to media. I mean, I'm sure he has. A lot of players need media training, number one, but I'm sure he has. I just don't think he got off on the right note with the note, get it? Because like we're the blue note. So funny. But I don't think he always got off on the right note with the fans. I think he's rubbed people the wrong way. And it's very unfortunate because I do expect him to have a good season. I expect him to be one of the core guys. It pains me that he wasn't on that team that won the cup. I feel like he is just such a big part of the Blues. And I can't imagine the Blues without him. And that's like the weird thing. I know everyone's like, oh, trade Kyrou. And I understand why you want him traded. I just really adapted to him. And I really ended up liking him and his play style. And I like, there's so much that I like, and it's crazy to think about. I think he's really just improved his game, even his passes, they're so strong and solid now. And he's not going to be a Robert Thomas, and that's okay. Kyrou is a little bit more like, I don't know how to describe this. You think of Tom and Jerry, which one was the cat versus the mouse? Kyrou is more like the mouse, like in a good way. Was that Tom or Jerry though? Tom? Jerry? I don't know. The point that I'm trying to say is he's a little bit more spunky, spontaneous, and all of that shows in his game on the ice. I mean, you really do see a guy that gives it his all. And I believe that about Jordan Kyrou. I always think, no matter what, to this day, that Jordan Kyrou has given it his all. When he's on the ice after every game, when he hangs up those skates, he gave it his all. You don't see laziness out of Jordan Kyrou. Maybe you can see a little attitude sometimes, but you're not going to see him being a lazy player. And that is one thing that I like about him. When the Blues came to where I live, I obviously, got a chance to interview some of the players, and one of them was Jordan Kyrou. And I will play that clip because I do have it, and it's like one of my favorites because it was the only guy that truly did talk about, the present moment. But he just is so passionate, about the game of hockey and about Blues hockey, and such a good locker room presence. And I do feel for some of these athletes because people make such assumptions about them without actually getting to know who they are off the ice. So if this being said, I know I kind of talked about the clip of when Jordan Kyrou came. I am going to play it, but I do want to let you know that this was when the Blues were actually chasing going to the playoffs. Clearly that didn't happen. Okay. Disclaimer, the St. Louis Blues never made the playoffs. But with that being said, here is when I spoke to Jordan Kyrou. It's like so cringy when I hear my own voice on like tapes like this. So I'm like, but like enjoy. Okay.
So this season, I would say this is a pretty good season for you. How do you feel like it's going thus far with, heading towards the end?
I mean, I think we're in a pretty good spot right now. These are exciting times. We're right there in the playoff race, right? We're a couple points out, so we got a couple big games ahead of us here.
You have a big, trip up in the East. You have Philadelphia, then you head out, to New Jersey, New York. What do you think about these games as they're really crucial as you're still fighting for that wild card spot?
Yeah, just like I said, these are big games, right? So they're exciting games to play in. We got something to play for right now, so we're all pretty pumped up.
Okay, so as you can tell, he was just literally talking about the games that he had up ahead, and he was the only player. He was so focused. Him and Binnington was, and I have those clips, and I know I always say I'm going to show them to you. I'm trying to space it out. Maybe I'll do one tomorrow, actually. Summer is tough because it's either nothing happens or all the news happens. But I just like how much Jordan Kyrou does care about the Blues, and you really get that sense from him. So shout out to Ruzi because I know that it hasn't been the easiest for him here, and I appreciate him. All right, you know what I appreciate? My friends over at Indeed. If you need a hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data and a matchmaking engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work and use Indeed for scheduling, screening, messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. One thing I love about Indeed is that it is so easy to use, and it's leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day. Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences. So the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. And you can join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of the show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your job more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. So let's talk about moves. So the reason why there's a bit of a space is because that's the Blues roster right now. I purposely did that so it kind of like would look a little bit like symbolic, but that's what's going on. There is a blank space because I don't know what else is going to happen. I suspect that there might be a trade. There has to be something crazy going on now that Krug may not be playing. I can't imagine the Blues proceeding as usual after all of this came out. I really do think that some of the speculations and rumors about a trade is going to happen. Now, personally, like what would be my ideal situation? Brady Tkachuk comes to St. Louis, but I know that's not going to happen, and that's not going to help the defense. I mean, okay, here's the thing, St. Louis. I really want Brady Tkachuk. And I've talked about it, but he's not moving. You know, he's forward. Like, it's not happening. But a girl can dream. But I don't know what move will be made. I mean, I'm assuming it would have to be a defensive move, right? If the Blues were to do anything. Do you really think the Blues would do a forward? No. Like a goalie? No. It has to be defense. Even if you have like the best offense, you're not going to be successful. I mean, you saw when the Florida Panthers won the cup that they were a really defensive-driven team, and I think that goes to show that defense is today's NHL game. Obviously scoring, but defense is where it's at. If you don't have a strong defensive core, like you're screwed. And we saw that with so many teams, especially, you know, I hate to be like, oh, but like the Winnipeg Jets, like their defense just was not there. And I think that just shows that you can be so good in the regular season. But when it comes to the playoffs, if your defense isn't on it, you're done. Now, the Blues' defense when we won the cup, I'm going to admit, like, it wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst, right? But I am terrified of this NHL season. There are so many good teams. I know I say that every season, but this season, like, I truly do mean it. Like, there's literally so many good teams and teams that I do not expect to take it easy on us, like the Nashville Predators. They have Brady. I always mess up his name because on Let's Do That Hockey, like but they have Stamkos. They have Montour. They have a bunch of. I don't want to talk about it. Marchessault. Wait, which one is Marchessault? Marchessault and Montour for whatever reason. They give me the same energy. I don't know why. But Montour, is he the one that was with the Kraken? Yeah, he's with the Kraken. So it's Marchessault. So Marchessault is with the Predators. I don't know why they remind me of the same people. But the Predators scare me. I'm going to actually have Anne from Locked On Predators do an episode with me soon. We're talking about doing that. I'm afraid of this NHL season. Like, I'm genuinely, like, kind of concerned right now about what's going to come. Central Division is going to be scary. The West is going to be the best, per usual. The East, I mean, the East is good, but I mean, I know that, you know, they have the defending cup champions now. I get it. I just think that the West is going to be more of a challenge. I mean, you're going to have a very hungry Edmonton. I actually don't like this season. I think the Knights are going to cheat like usual. Like, there is a lot to be worried about. The Kings are not that bad of a team. Are the Blues going to actually make it into the playoffs? Now that I think about it, dog, I know you only have like a couple seasons left, but like you can't go out like this, sir. So like if you want to like do something so like we can be in the playoffs, like I'll appreciate you. If not, then I hate you. No, I'm joking. All right, but this was a fun episode. I will talk to you more tomorrow. And like always, let's go Blues.